I would like to present our ongoing research project, bITEM, which stands for Beyond the Item, Biographies and Itineraries of Cultural Heritage Objects in Museums and Beyond, funded by the Go Digital call of the Austrian Academy of Sciences and done in cooperation with colleagues from the Natural History Museum. There is a large team behind this project, but first and foremost, I would like to thank my co-PI, Viola Winkler, who is leading this project at the Natural History Museum, and Stefan Eichert, who is doing the entire coding and development of the web front end for this project, also at the Natural History Museum. So the project is set around 5 different case studies, rather different, all evolving around various museums objects, archaeologically and biological ones. And we are going to try to find new ways of presenting their biographies and their research histories. So one of these case studies is the famous Venus of Willendorf, an almost 30,000-year-old figurine with an thus very long, long-spanning biography and an equally interesting research history, starting with its excavation and discovery in the early 20th century. Another case study is the Novara expedition, the first and only circumnavigation of the globe by the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, from which, for example, several Moa skeletons were brought back from New Zealand and which are also nowadays housed at the museum. A third, not so well-known case study is the site at the Mitterhof close at La and the Thaya, which was also investigated by the discoverer of the Venus, namely Joseph Somebody, in the late 19th century, and which was recently surveyed by the LBI ArchPro with geophysical prospection. So what we are going to do in this project is we will map all the various items and the people involved in their discovery and investigation, mainly during the 19th and early 20th century, but actually until recent times, and take a look at how these people and objects are interconnected. We will map all the various spaces these objects and people have been, and over time, like in this example, the various stops of the Novara expedition all around the globe and the items that were collected in these various places. We will also treat the surrounding landscapes in a similar manner as the objects themselves. Like in this case, a prehistoric burial mound at the Mitterhof site, which was in the late 19th century excavated by Joseph Somebody and whose excavation trench is still visible in the GPR data. All of these various data and sources will be entered in the open source web software, database software Open Atlas. I will also account for other sources like historical maps, mentioning, for example, a medieval village here at this site. We can compare this then with, for example, the geophysical prospection data, like this magnetometry data, where we see many different settlement traces, some of them most likely prehistoric, others likely medieval. And if we take a closer look actually at the interpretation of these various data, one realizes that there is not two easily separated sites that we are looking at, but actually there is a settlement and resettlement over centuries until these very recent discoveries and these very recent traces in the landscape that were left by Joseph Somebody in the late 19th century. So within Open Atlas, we have the possibility to set up different pages for different sites and just explore this common data from various angles and with various interpretations. So here, for example, we have set up the prehistoric site, and which is interconnected, of course, with the medieval settlement and all the connected sources, resources, artifacts, and people who are bound to them. Same, of course, goes for all people that are involved in these objects and how they are interconnected with these various places and various objects over space and time. And in the end, we plan to set up a an interactive web front end where one can explore all of this data. There we will also take account of the various 3D models of the objects we are investigating and we are creating during this project. And this is still work in progress, and you can see here now a first review of what it might look like in the end. So one can explore all the various items and their interconnections, for example, with different places and also the people who were involved in their discovery and in their exploration. You can go and browse through the different biographies of these people, but also, of course, of all the objects and how they might have changed over time and have moved. And this will hopefully lead to many new angles of looking at these objects and presenting these. Only if we take a quick look at the timeline of these various case studies and how they are connected with each other. For example, the Moas were extinct in the 14th century, a time where also many medieval villages were deserted in Central Europe, both closely interconnected with changing human settlement. And here you see a timeline of the various traces that were left in the landscape of the Mitterhof site, for example. So in the end, we will hopefully find new ways of presenting all of this various data. This is, yeah. Thank you very much.